Hi, I'm Doug, and this is my first mate, Peggy. Together, we're sailing the coast of Maine in our 30-foot hunter called Lavender Love. There's a reason why we haven't put out a video in a while. More about that in a minute. This is a summary of our 2024 sailing year. As many of you know, the season in Maine generally lasts from about May to October. I say generally because there are those who scoff at the cold and keep their boats in the water just as long as possible, but we're part of that wimpy, or maybe it's the smart sailing club. In Maine, the docks get pulled out, harbors can freeze, winter storms can be treacherous, and the cold air just so miserable. So what's sheer joy in the summer becomes near impossible to do in the winter. So anyway, back to the reason why we haven't put out a video all summer long. I shot a ton of footage, I took plenty of photos along the way, but time kept getting filled in with other demands. Unfortunately, sailing isn't the only thing that we do. I work full-time. Peggy runs Moore Manor Lavender, which kicks in the springtime and lasts all summer long. So, like everyone else, there's more than enough to do on all fronts. I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to stress about editing videos, which take me a lot of time, some people not, but I wanted to focus on my time on the boat, the work that I have to do, and keeping up with everything there is to do around on the farm. So back to the 2024 summer on our boat. We try to stay at least one overnight on the weekends and then come out midweek maybe for a floating supper with $1 million view, including some relaxation or maybe doing a small project on the boat. It just depends. Yay, we finally get to sail. Shut off the engine and sail. A sailor's dream. There's just enough wind and the water is fairly smooth, so we're having a good sail now. 4.5 knots we're going, and it looks like the wind is about 13. A couple of sailboats in the distance. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can count about 10 sailboats out in the water. As most of you know, there's a never-ending list of projects to do on the boat. Basically, it's like a floating camper with salt water and the harsh weather constantly trying to eat away at it. There's the engine to maintain, sails to look after, and the kitchen and the galley, different things there. Water wants to work its way in from all sides, the rain from above and the storms and the salt water. So anyway, the 2024 season started when the weather became a little more temperate, like around April or May. The first order of business was to remove the wrapping that protects the boat in the winter. I had a little bit of work to do on the keel, on the front and the back of the keel. There were a couple little spots that opened up, so I ground that out, filled it with an epoxy called G-Flex, which is a flexible epoxy, and then I put another coat of bottom paint on the bottom of the boat. It has copper in it that prevent the growth of all sorts of sea life that's in the water. Things like barnacles, seaweed, and those little living things that just like to grow everywhere. The paint we use is made to wear off slowly, kind of like a bar of soap, so that things don't stick to it as well. It breaks off throughout the summer. Then I had the impeller to change on the engine, which is a little rubber flap that circulates water around the engine, keeps it cool, and it's a good maintenance item to do, to change that every year, because that can, as it gets older, it can dry out, break off, and get stuck up in the cooling part of the engine. I put the batteries back in from their winter storage, and then we put the dinghy in the water and Got that on the dock, so it's all ready for us to go back and forth from the mooring to the dock using the dinghy. We use the dinghy to taxi us back and forth from the dock to the boat all summer long. It's about a 10-minute ride for us to go from the dock out to our boat. Our goal was to have the boat in the water by Memorial Day weekend so that we could have the long weekend to spend on the boat and getting it ready for sailing. So as far as trips go, we made it to Camden 2 times. The first time in July, and then the second time we went down for the Windjammer Festival. On that trip, the engine quit about an hour before we were supposed to arrive. So while Peggy sailed in a light wind, I was fiddling around with the engine, trying to troubleshoot that and figure out if it was a clogged fuel filter, a fuel line, or electrical issue, or what it was. Well, we got the engine running, thankfully, and we got into Camden. It was just about dark, so it was a little hard to see the mooring and where we were supposed to go, but we made it there fine. We spent the weekend troubleshooting and trying to fix the problem. It ended up being a dead battery that we had, and then the fuel pump wasn't pumping fuel. But we were rewarded that Friday night with more fireworks. So we sat on our boat while we watched the fireworks in the distance. Then on the day when we were supposed to come home, we had the engine running and warming up. I took one last trip below and I smelled something a little off, so I took the engine cover off and there was fuel spraying out all around, diesel fuel. We shut the engine off really quickly and I spent an hour and a half troubleshooting that and cleaning up the mess. Thankfully, it all went okay, although our stress level went up a little higher. It ended up that the fuel filter on the engine, the 2 bolts had come out, loosened the fuel line that came in, and that caused fuel to spray all over. So we ended up cleaning that up and made our way back, although we were on edge the whole way home, or I was at least, thinking, what's going to happen next type of thing, because we had 2 issues that weekend. Things like that go wrong. I guess that's just the price of getting an education. We also made it to Belfast a few weekends, which we like to do. One time when we went to Belfast, we went into town to get milkshakes and saw that the wind was picking up, so we headed back. We were slamming into the waves the whole way back. We got drenched, and one wave almost bounced us out of the dinghy, but we had our life jackets on and we got back to the boat safely. A new place that we went to was Bucks Harbor. Bucks Harbor is at one end of Eggemogan Reach, and Eggemogan Reach is a waterway that goes through from Penobscot Bay towards Bar Harbor, and it separates Deer Isle from the mainland. Bucks Harbor became well known after the book Blueberries for Sal was written. That was written by Robert McCloskey, and it was based on that town and on a garage there and on the dock and different things there. So we ate at a restaurant that was fairly well known, a little bit higher end restaurant. And when you book at the restaurant, reserve at the restaurant, you get a free mooring. So we didn't pay for the mooring, got a good meal. So that was worth it. One of our favorite weekend getaways is Holbrook Island. It's a preserve that you can only get to by boat. So Holbrook Island has walking paths all around the island. We felt like we had the whole island to ourselves. There were only a couple people around and lots of paths. So you walk through the woods on these paths and then you come out to another part of the beach. Okay, as far as improvements on the boat, we made a new Dodger and a Bimini and a helm cover to cover the wheel. The old one was faded and ripped, and so we had that on our list to do to replace that. So we're always trying to improve things a little bit on the boat, keep things up and improve. Another thing that I did is replace the mixing valve, which mixes seawater with the engine exhaust to cool the engine exhaust out, and then they're both spit out through the exhaust pipe. When that elbow gets clogged, the engine can run a little hotter and a little smokier. So I wanted to replace that with a stainless steel mixing valve. I wasn't really looking forward to that because the space to work in is pretty small. So to get your tools in and your hands in and all that, it's a little bit difficult. I didn't break any bolts or anything like that. So that was just one of those maintenance items that I did, and all in all, it went pretty smoothly. Anyway, summer flew by. We have lots of memories, photos, videos to look back on. We hauled the boat out in October and it's now waiting up on stands in the winter, ready for the next season. I hope to put together more detailed videos before the next summer season kicks in. We hope 2025 treats you all really well and hope you can create some awesome memories of your own this year. Thank you for watching and being a part of our sailing journey. We love sharing it with you, and we hope to see you in the next video.